audible? So first, we'll do one question before we proceed further. Write down one question, take out A4 sheet. Although this question, let me read this question also. Examine Max Weber's method of maintaining objectivity in social research. Okay. Vishal 1430 edition, page number 13, question number 4, year 2016. Examine Max Weber's method of maintaining objectivity in social research. This question, although is of 20 mark, but let us assume this is 10 mark question. Writing 10 mark is more challenging than 20. 20 mark में तो क्या कहानियां बनानी है, भरते जाओ, ठीक है. 10 mark में to the point बोलना है. So 10 mark, 150 word. Okay. So same process रहेगा. First you have to get uncomfortable by looking at the question, and then try to get comfortable by figuring out something that can give you comfort. Okay. और उसके बाद फिर देखते हैं क्या करना है. ओके. ये का जो है. ओके. So let us begin with how to approach this question. First, what we have to do? पहले तो first we have to identify keywords. Of course, examine is not very important keyword क्योंकि as I told you, चाहे कुछ भी लिखा हो, हमको दोनों साइड दिखानी. Okay, doesn't matter whether it is elucidate, even elucidate लिखा होता तो भी मैं दूसरी साइड तो लिखता ही. ठीक है, तो ये सब बकवास है. मेन चीज आपको फोकस करनी है इस पे, objectivity. Only one keyword. Okay. Now the question is how to define objectivity. If you guys know objectivity, the notion of objectivity is coming from natural sciences, right? And positivists are those people who try to look for objectivity in social world, and they believe social world is as objective as natural world, and therefore scientific method can be applied even in the study of social world. Max Weber believed social world is not objective, at least not objective in the lines of natural sciences. Okay. So, but although he believed there is no objectivity in social world, he was quite a supporter of the idea of considering the meanings and motivations of individuals objectively. Okay. Social world there is no objectivity, but we can objectively study them. In the sense, how can we study their action objectively? Bhai, as I told you, two people are engaged in cock fight. दो मुर्गे लड़ा रहे हैं, ठीक है? I'm European. I watched them having cock fight. Now, what is the meaning of objectivity according to Weber? That I try to understand why cockfight is happening. Okay. And what is the meaning these two individuals have attributed to the cockfight? Is this just a source of entertainment? I mean, as a European, just by looking at the crowd, okay, I may call it a source of entertainment. Okay. Is this some movie, some theater, something going on? Eventually, when I start to look at the cockfight by putting myself into the shoes of these people, I get to realize, after going through history of the whole community, then I understand that it is actually not just a cockfight, it is a symbol of power struggle. Okay, it is a struggle for power between two people. It is a struggle for status. Okay, so meaning comes out very now. This is very objective. The objective. So social world, although is highly subjective, but researcher can study the subjective world objectively if researcher does not allow his values to come in the interpretation of social action. Okay, so what will we say? We say objectivity has been has been a notion derived from natural sciences that claims the research to be value free. Okay, that claims the research to be value free. Next, what I will say? Then I will say positivist believed that value free analysis can be done with the application of scientific method. Application of scientific method in social world. Okay. Which would help. Which would help to discover laws of society. ओके, इतना कर दिया. अब क्या करना है? एक एग्जांपल देना है. ठीक है? फॉर एग्जांपल, Durkheim came up with the law that with industrialization suicide rate will increase. ओके. अब ये करने के बाद मैक्स वेबर को लेके आना है. Okay, I explained bit of history before because in reality it is a 20-mark question. Okay. Now, Max Weber. Max Weber, on the other hand, Max Weber, on the other hand, believed that social world consists of meaningful social action which are motivated and subjective. Therefore, objectivity can be attained only if the researcher studies the web of meanings in a value neutral fashion. In a value neutral fashion. Okay? Value neutrality. Up next, how can we study something value neutrally? It is the concept of ideal type, okay, which is going to help the researcher study the social world in an objective fashion. Okay, it is the ideal type that can help maintain value neutrality. For example, unlike Marxist portrayal of capitalism as exploitative, Weber's portrayal of capitalism simply depicted accentuated features of capitalism. Marx did not call it exploitative. Sorry, Weber did not call it exploitative. Weber only highlighted important features of capitalism. See, for example, if you look into Adam Smith, Durkheim, Marx, Marxist, all of them have judged capitalism in one or the other way. Okay. In the judged in the sense, to judge me is not something bad. Judge me in the sense they have given value judgments. Adam Smith, according to Adam Smith, capitalism, a neoliberal economy, is something that can give rise to wealth of nations. Okay, a value judgment again. I'll tell you why it is value judgment. And then Karl Marx, it is highly exploitative, alienates individuals. Okay. On the other hand, Max Weber, what is Max Weber saying? Capitalism, nothing. Accumulation of wealth. भाई इसमें कोई वैल्यू वो he is not saying what will happen when accumulation of wealth happens, someone is exploiting, someone is exploited, or economy is growing productive, or it is bringing solidarity. No, he is saying accumulation of wealth, accentuated feature. कोई वैल्यू जजमेंट कुछ है ही नहीं, ऑब्जेक्टिव है भाई एकदम पूरा. Accumulation of wealth, कैसे? In history, there have been different methods of accumulating wealth. In tribal society, it was booty capitalism, accumulating wealth by capturing or by defeating another people. Objective, again, simply depicting what happened in history. कोई judgment नहीं है. Unlike Karl Marx, history of all society has been history of class struggle. Okay. No, he is simply portraying, that accumulation, wealth was accumulated by one. He did not talk about exploitation, expropriation, appropriation, surplus value, all those things. Okay. Alienation. Okay. So this is why it is a very unique method of objectivity in social science. Okay. Ideal type. And finally, what did he do? As you know, that ideal type has also types: historical universal, historical particular. Okay. So this is how you could have gone with this concept of objectivity in social research. Okay. So value neutrality, Peshtihen, ideal type, okay, social action. All these elements should be there in your answer. Now, you will say similar ideal types was made for study of social action, जिसको बहुत सब्जेक्टिव बोला जाता है. Similar ideal type was made for study of social action in a value neutral fashion. These ideal types helped Weber to not only maintain objectivity but also to draw adequate causal relation to establish cause effect in social world. And cause effect is also one of the feature of natural science. तो साइंस तो है मैक्स वेबर के लिए. Sociology is a science, okay, but it is a science of social action with interpretative understanding of the meanings, motives, along with the causes and the consequences. ठीक है, बताओ. लास्ट में you can write one or two critique. Okay, one or two critique. How will you write critique? भाई सीधी सी बात है. Now you have two options. Either you can introduce scholars to criticize him, which is advisable. Okay, advisable. 20 mark question में you should mention scholars. Okay, 10 mark में you can still ignore. 20 mark में you should. So for example, I can introduce Gunnar Middle, and Alvin Goldner. Or I may also introduce David Marsland. Okay. So if I talk about Gunnar Middle and Alvin Goldner, they clearly say objectivity is an illusion. Objectivity is an illusion. And David Goldner is that person who says he has given one concept. I don't know if I have taught you that concept or not. Okay, ऐसा भी हो जाता है कभी कभी. Domain assumptions. ये पढ़ा है मैंने. हाँ, कोई बात नहीं, हो जाता है ऐसा. ठीक है. Elvin Goldner has given this concept domain assumptions. What is domain assumption? ये मैंने पढ़ाया होगा, नाम नहीं लिया होगा मैंने, ऐसे वर्ड नहीं ऐसे यूज किया होगा. If I am feminist, of course I am studying on domestic violence, gender inequality, sexual harassment at the workplace. Okay, as a feminist I am dealing with these topics. So again, my domain assumptions, my personal life, my values, my reading on feminism might have influenced me to study on these things. ये मैंने पढ़ाया होगा, बस नाम नहीं लिया होगा. ये domain assumptions हैं. Okay, these are domain assumptions. Okay, similarly as a Marxist scholar, I would be studying on class inequality, poverty, homelessness, okay, misery, alienation, something monotonous work, okay, platform economy, cyber capitalism, digital capitalism, okay, something like this. So again, migration, reverse migration, forced labor, ये सारी स्टडी कौन करते हैं? मार्क्सिस्ट लोग. So being Marxist, you are dealing with those topics. So how can you say that you are highly objective? This is why Max Weber clearly said, see, as far as selection of topic is concerned, your values are very much welcome, no issue. Once the topic is chosen, उसके बाद नहीं. But ये बोलते हैं उसके बाद भी होएगा, उसके बाद भी, even after selection of topic, you will still have values. So therefore, Max Weber का जो idea है, objectivity का, ideal type, that is very ideal. Okay, ये बोल सकते हो. Basically, ideal type is giving us a direction, a target, a goal that everyone should try to attain. Okay, it is not something that you can really make up to. Okay, but something that you can always look up to while doing research. Okay, now let us begin with Talcott Parson. Okay, क्या हुआ? सृष्टि अग्रवाल, प्लेटफॉर्म इकोनॉमी. Weber's view on objectivity should be there ना? Yes. Weber view का जो है, Weber's का जो view है, Weber का जो view है on objectivity, what is that? It is all about ideal type, value neutrality, empathetic understanding, Peirce, adequate causality. यही तो है ऑब्जेक्टिविटी वेबर का. सिंपली अगर मैं बोलूं कीवर्ड्स में, वेबर का ऑब्जेक्टिविटी का मीनिंग क्या है? इट इज ऑल अबाउट ideal type, which means we do not have capitalism in the world. कैपिटलिज्म एग्जिस्ट नहीं करता है वर्ल्ड में. कुछ मॉडल है, कुछ मॉडल है, ठीक है, जिसको हम कैपिटलिज्म बोलते हैं. ओके, तो दैट वे एक आइडियल टाइप इज सिंपली अ रिप्रेजेंटेशन ऑफ रियलिटी. इट इज नॉट द रियलिटी. ओके, so every scholar use concepts to explain reality. Every scholar has models in his mind to explain reality. Democracy is a model, it is not reality. Okay, justice is a model, it is not reality. Okay, justice का मीनिंग क्या होता है भाई? जस्टिस का मीनिंग सिंपल है, इक्वल अपॉर्चुनिटी टू एवरीवन. ठीक है, फ्री एंड फेयर इलेक्शन, दैट इज ऑल्सो पार्ट ऑफ जस्टिस ओनली, पॉलिटिकल जस्टिस। ओके, इकोनॉमिक जस्टिस, सोशल जस्टिस, जस्टिस जस्ट, ये जस्टिस है क्या? जस्टिस एग्जिस्ट नहीं करता है। जस्टिस एक कॉन्सेप्ट है, ठीक है, जिसको स्कॉलर्स यूज करते हैं। ओके, इट डज नॉट एग्जिस्ट इन रियलिटी। इट इज नॉट इन रियलिटी, वी यू डू नॉट हैव 100% इकोनॉमिक जस्टिस और सोशल जस्टिस, एक एक फीचर मिलेगा तुम्हें, ऐसा नहीं होता है। दीज आर ओनली मॉडल्स। तो वेबर ऑब्जेक्टिविटी फर्स्ट इज आइडियल टाइप, सेकंड Verstehen, value neutrality, then adequate causality, खत्म। एंड इफ यू टॉक अबाउट ऑब्जेक्टिविटी ऑफ पॉजिटिविस्ट, वो देखो कितनी अलग होती है। नाउ सी पॉजिटिविस्ट का जो ऑब्जेक्टिविटी है, आइडियल टाइप नहीं, एक्चुअल टाइप, बिकॉज दे बिलीव जो वो स्टडी कर रहे हैं वही वो है सब कुछ। एक्चुअल टाइप होता है। एंड आइडियल टाइप, व्हाट इज आइडियल टाइप? इट इज नॉट एक्चुअल टाइप, clearly says it is not actual type, nor it is average type. It is approximation of reality, not the reality. Okay, verstehen, that means empathetic understanding. And what are they doing? They do not understand people, they explain people. बहुत फर्क है। Weberian understand us and positivist explain us. Okay, वैल्यू न्यूट्रलिटी कोई सवाल ही नहीं, वैल्यू फ्रीडम, ओके, स्ट्रिक्ट सेपरेशन between researcher and researched, value freedom. Okay, हाँ, predict reality वो तो लास्ट में है। adequate causality, no, simply monocausal reality. that means इनके लिए A led to B, और वेबर के लिए if A happens there is a probability that B may happen. कितना फर्क है दोनों की बातों में। ओके, and finally, since they believe social world operates just like natural world, we have objectivity there, we have objectivity here as well. They have atom, we also have people who are like atoms. Their behavior is highly static. In certain situations they operate exactly in a similar fashion. Okay, and more so all over the world you will see people operating in similar domain with similar orientations, similar kind of behavior, which can be explained if we are able to come up with laws. Okay, and therefore they believe just like natural sciences, in the social world also we have laws of social world. और ये बोलता है लॉस तो कैसे होंगे when we cannot be absolutely sure about anything, adequate causal है, probabilities हैं, okay, empathetically we have to understand meanings है, web of meanings है, highly subjectivity है, ideal type actual type होता नहीं कुछ, capitalism is not capitalism, it is just your model. So if nothing is certain, then how can you come up with law? ठीक है, अब करते हैं Talcott Parsons. So yesterday I was talking about structure of social action. अब देखते हैं आगे हुआ क्या. और टैलकट पार्सन इसे कर रहा है. It is completely your choice जितने भी एरो बनाने हैं. ऐसा नहीं कल 5 बनाए आज भी 5 बनाए तो 5 ही बने. Can make 3 also. This is, here you will write situational constraints. And here you will write normative constraints. Now, simple सी बात है. I told you yesterday that we have one actor and Talcott Parson is studying orientation of actor. Orientation. Okay. If you remember, this word is coming from writings of Max Weber. Social action is a meaningful social action oriented to other actors. So Talcott Parson ने ये word borrow किया orientation. Talcott Parson is arguing very simple thing. Very simple thing. When action is oriented to actor, is it only the orientation to actor? Or is it also orientation to norms, certain situational constraints, which actually made him perform that social action? Okay, Weber does not take into consideration those things. So, for Weber, simply अगर मैं बताऊं आपको, Weber has studied social action, of course. For him, this actor is oriented to other actor. But for Talcott Parsons is also studying social action. Talcott Parson के लिए actor is oriented to other actor, of course, but this orientation is not so neat and clean. There are constraints. Okay, normative and situational, which Weber did not take into consideration. Okay, Weber simply tried to understand social action of large number of people to figure out why these large scale social structures have come into existence. And when Weber is doing this, Weber is trying to tell us कि structures are the formation of individual. यही बोल रहे हैं ना, right? Or if you remember, something of this sort was also explained by phenomenologist, ethnomethodologist. Okay, structures that way are not objective reality. If they are our making, okay, that means if we are making them, so there is no objective reality in it, because all of us may attach different meanings to the similar structure. For example, to the concept of work, Protestant may attribute different meaning, Hindu may attribute different meaning. Okay, so the very notion of capitalism is not very objective, built on specific features. Okay, it is actually reflection of the values of Protestants. ठीक है, अब देखते हैं टेलकर पार्सन्स क्या बोलता है. Our goal is to be IAS. We had multiple choices. Okay, as I told you, the first was coaching, library, self-study, toppers notes, corruption. Ultimately, I figured out that I will not be doing this. Then I figured out I will not be doing this. Okay. Then I relied on this and this. Library bhi nahi hai. Okay. Now, this is who? This is me. Let us assume this is me. Okay. Now, some other person may go with this corruption. ऐसा होता है. इतना कौन पढ़े? पैसा दे दो सीधे. ठीक है. Some other person may go with this. He may not go with proper notes or self-study. He may go with coaching. Okay. Some other person may go with library along with topper notes. Basically, जितने actors, जितने individuals, उतने means. As many individuals, so many means. Okay. Now, the fact is, one more fact is that all the individuals are not oriented to similar goal. Right? Not all the people want to become IAS. Okay, some people want to become doctor. Some people want to become engineer. Some people want to become teacher. Some people want to become lawyer. That means goals are also of different types. And in those goals, also to attain those goals, there will be different sort of means again. So in reality, if we have 1 crore people, let us assume, if we have 1 crore people, we have at least 50 crore means, okay, and maybe 200, 300, 400, 500 goals. Okay, can we ever study this? Talcott Parson believed we can. Okay, Talcott Parson believed we can. अब ये कैसे करें? Now, when I went with the option of self-study in terms of IAS goal, if I consider IAS as my goal, and toppers notes, and I did not opt for corruption, the question is, Talcott Parson is interested in knowing why I did not opt for corruption. Okay. Why I did not opt for coaching? When I know these are easy methods. These are easy methods. Okay. Still, I'm not going with it. Why? Okay. First, this was his question. Second question in his mind. Okay, so write down. Talcott Parson had few questions. Talcott Parsons had few questions in his mind, first, how does actor how does actor finalize the means? Okay, finalize the means. Second, how the goals are determined. How the goals or the ultimate ends भी बोलते हैं इसको, how the goals or ultimate ends are determined. Third, why the actors why the actors, despite having okay, why the actors, despite having multiple sort of goals and multiple sort of means, is able to why the actor, despite having multiple sort of goals and means, is able to interact with someone who do not share these goals and means? It's very basic question. Okay, two different individuals having two different goals, two different means, still they are interacting. How come? I mean, why do we have interaction between people who share different goals in their lives? Okay, matlab he is actually looking at a very normal, mundane, everyday conversation in an inquisitive fashion. Okay, trying to defamiliarize with something that is very familiar. हाँ कि भाई दो लोग बात कर सकते हैं, उसमें कौन सी बड़ी बात है? वो पूछना होगा कि कहाँ है रास्ता मंदिर का, वो बोलेगा राइट, ये इंटरेक्शन ही तो है. I mean, but is this the kind of interaction that every person is interested in? ये now बस ये you have to keep these three questions in your head. Fourth, one more question. How does the normative and situational constraint how does the normative and situational constraint coerce the individual coerce the individual coerce the individual into certain means and certain goals? Okay, and last one more question, fifth. How come do we have, highlight this question, underline, bold, how come do we have social order in society? How come do we have social order in society with so many people having different set of goals and different set of means? Basic question. Okay, now ये 5 क्वेश्चंस आपके दिमाग में रहने चाहिए, तभी आपको टैलकट पार्सन समझ आएगा. ठीक है. Okay. So finally, I went with, after struggling with all the choices that I had, finally I went with corruption. Okay. Someone else might have studied religiously, made it through. I could not, so I went with corruption. Okay. Now the question is, how come that me being corrupt and the other person being so much religious with his education, how come both of us are sharing similar goals? ये भी बड़ी अजीब सी बात है. I mean, I'm highly corrupt and he's highly educated. Still, both of us want to become IAS. Okay, this is also a very strange thing. So Talcott Parson is trying to understand each and every layer of individual action, and this is very holistic and inclusive study of social action that Weber could not do. इतना डेप्थ में वेबर गया ही नहीं था. ठीक है, सिंपली ही वाज सिंपली ट्राइंग टू अंडरस्टैंड सोशल एक्शन. अंडरस्टैंडिंग किस डेप्थ तक ये जा रहा है, उस डेप्थ पे तो गया ही नहीं वो. ठीक है. ओके, नाउ आई विल आस्क यू वन वेरी बेसिक क्वेश्चन. यूपीएससी, एज यू नो, हैज 1000 seats approximately. Okay, and 3 lakh students are appearing for that, right? Out of 3 lakh, finally 1000 will make it, and 2 lakh 99,000 will be out. Okay. They will be out. The question is, why did they simply accept that they are not fit? Why did they not revolt? Why did they not protest? Very basic question again. समझ रहे हो ना टैलकट पार्सन क्या कर रहा है? He is actually unearthing everything that we take for granted. We have 1000 seats, 2 lakh 99 out. None of these 2 lakh 99 are protesting. Simply accepting okay. ऐसा कैसे हो रहा है? कितनी अजीब बात है. ओके. क्या है ऐसा सोसाइटी में जो इनको रोक रहा है? Okay, and you will also come to know when I'll after some point of time when I'll talk about structural functionalism. इसकी बात अभी मैं कर नहीं रहा हूं जानकर. ठीक है. Suppose you marry someone who is completely opposite to you. Social order restrict. Suppose you marry someone who is completely opposite to you. Okay. You know that he is not right for you. Okay. After 1 year, you got to know this person is not the same person you actually thought of him. She also got to know, he also got to know that she is not the right person. उसके बाद भी डिवोर्स क्यों नहीं हो रहा है? I mean very basic questions he is asking. डिवोर्स क्यों नहीं हो रहा? ये अभी भी क्यों है शादी में? Now उन सबका आंसर आपको यहाँ थोड़ा थोड़ा मिलेगा. All the choices that you make here, if you remember when I was going to marry a girl, on my friend's suggestion, I married a girl. Okay. And this girl was not from my caste, not from my religion, not from my ethnicity. Okay, so that's how we were completely opposite in terms of values, and still we married. But after some point of time, we got to know we are not made for each other. Okay. On the other hand, instead of you, someone else would have married someone who is from similar caste, similar religion, similar region. So, what are the choices that individuals are making? What are the consequences of the choices of those individuals? Despite having tensions and anxiety and strains, why order is still maintained? Okay, these are the questions that Talcott Parson is trying to answer now. Now, whatever choice you will make here, whatever choice you are going to make here can be studied easily by a pattern. Okay, because the choices that you make constitute a pattern. 10 lakh people in the population of 1 crore, let us assume like this, 1 crore population, 50 lakh appeared for UPSC, 50 lakh did corruption, something like this. A pattern is there. Okay, large number of people are going through similar means to achieve similar goal. Again, large number of people going for similar means to achieve similar goal. There is a pattern. चाहे जितना भी complexity हो, but एक pattern जरूर है. And Talcott Parson called this pattern variable. Pattern variable. Okay. You decided to marry someone based on caste. Many people decided to marry someone based on caste. Many people decided to marry someone not based on caste, based on education. कितना पढ़े लिखे हो, कास्ट वास्ट सब बात की बात. But there are many people who opted for marriage through education, and some other many people opting for marriage by looking into caste. Again, a pattern is there. सही बात है ना? So now these kind of actions that individuals make are of two types according to Talcott Parsons. Always of two types. Okay. उसकी डिटेल स्टडी में हम नहीं जाएंगे क्योंकि वो हमारे सिलेबस में भी नहीं है. स्ट्रक्चर ऑफ सोशल एक्शन. What we have in our syllabus is pattern variable. Okay. Finally, after analyzing all the modes of social action, orientation, normative, situational constraints, he figured out there are two modes, two choices that actor has. Either go with caste or go with his own choice, that is individualism. Okay. Individualism. Right? This is the manifestation of individualism and this is the manifestation of tradition. Simple. Corruption is the manifestation of individualism. Okay. And to write UPSC examination is considered as a traditional social action, or it can also be considered as Vivek rational social action. Okay, whatever that may be. But it is not individualism. It is not individualism. Okay. Now, I'll talk about 5 set of pattern variables. Five set of pattern variables. First, we will define pattern variables. Pattern variable is a model used by researcher to understand how the actor resolves the dilemma that he confronts in an action situation. How the actor resolves dilemma that he confronts in an action situation. बताता हूं मैं अभी पूरा कंप्लीट करके एक बार फिर बताता हूं. The model used by researcher to understand how the actor resolves the dilemma that he confronts in an action situation. So, one more time I'll explain pattern variable तक हम कैसे पहुंचे हैं. My goal was to get married. I had multiple choice. Multiple choice means dilemma. पेरेंट्स जो बोल रहे हैं उससे शादी करूं, अपनी जो चॉइस है उससे करूं. Finally, I made one choice. How did I make that choice is one research question. Okay. यूपीएससी करूं या फिर हायर एजुकेशन में जाऊं या फिर उधर जाऊं फॉरेन यूनिवर्सिटी. ओके. डिलेमा अगेन. मार्केट में हम जाते हैं, पिज्जा खाएं या बर्गर. डिलेमा. हॉट कॉफी पिए कोल्ड कॉफी. डिलेमा. हर एक एक्टर, एवरी एक्टर इन एन एनी एक्शन सिचुएशन confronts dilemma. सोशियोलॉजी लें, साइकोलॉजी. ओके. Finally, he makes one choice. Right? Now, Talcott Parson believes that we can study how actors make choices through a model. The name of the model is pattern variable. Okay. And pattern variable, remember, is a model. So that way, it is very much influenced by the notion of Weber's ideal type. Ideal type of social action Weber talked about. He is talking about certain models of how we actually resolve our dilemmas in an action situation or a social action. Understanding or not? देखो, let me talk about those 5 pattern variables, then you will get to know. First is ascription. अभी तुमको समझ आ जाएगा सब कुछ. Ascription versus achievement. Ascription versus achievement. Okay. I suppose married someone from my caste, and caste was taken into consideration before marriage, or religion was taken into consideration before marriage. These factors were taken into consideration before marriage. Okay. See, suppose I have 100 choice. ठीक है, hundreds of choice. Parents ने hundreds of choice ऐसे रखा है सामने कि देख लो भाई कौन सी इसमें से तुमको लगता है बात कर सकते हैं जिससे. ठीक है. How did I make my choice? Did I make my choice based on who is Punjabi, who is from this caste, who is from this educational background? What actually went into the making of my choice? If finally I chose someone who is Punjabi from similar caste, from educational background, okay, that is a very high, that is highly mixed. But what matters is finally I am looking for educational background even within someone who is a Punjabi and who is from similar caste. Okay, so if I am going with caste, religion, then that means, and these are ascriptive features of someone, ascribed features. Okay, let me write it like this: ascribed status of individual, and this is achieved status of individual. Ascribed status: you are Punjabi. Ascribed status. Okay, ascribed. You are from MP. Ascribed status. Okay, you are from a specific caste. Ascribed status. You are from specific religion. Ascribed status. Then what is achieved status? I am not Punjabi, MP or ये और सब बकवास. I am MBA. Achievement. So when you start looking or when you start giving importance to achievement of individuals, and then you act according to those individual achievements and not according to the ascriptive features, this is also one of the way that you chose to go with that partner, that she is MBA, he is doing MA, or she is also MTech, something like this. And then you asked, by the way, क्या रिलीजन है इसका? ठीक है, ये ऐसे कर लिया. So again, he is not saying कि in reality आप ऐसे करते हो. Either you go with this or that. We look at both, and again that is why he said it is just like a model that can be used to analyze how do we finally end up making our choices. Okay, ठीक है. So achieved status is what the modern society is all about. Ascribed status is what the traditional society is all about. So in a traditional society, most of your choices will be governed by ascriptive features of individual. And in modern society, your decisions will be based on achievement orientation or achieved status of individual. Now, here I will write pattern variable A. This is pattern variable B. So in pattern variable B, I will describe features of modern society. And in pattern variable A, I will describe the features of traditional society. Okay. Acha. Now tell me. Is India modern? बड़ा ही लूज क्वेश्चन है. Is India modern India? If I restrict myself to marriage, do we have high rate of intercaste marriage or do we still have intracaste marriage? What is happening? Intercaste is happening or intracaste is happening? See, when you go for intercaste marriage, yani you are going out of your caste. That means you are making your own choices. Individualism. Intercaste marriage means individualism. सही बात है कि नहीं? इतना पढ़ लिख चुके हो कि तुम्हें लगता है ये सब बकवास चीजें हैं, सोशल इल्यूजन्स, ठीक है? और तुम बोलते हो कि अब मैं ये सब नहीं मानता इन चीजों में, ठीक है? ज्यादा पढ़ लिख गए हो, इंडिविजुअलिज्म आ जाएगा, नहीं सुन रहे हो पेरेंट्स की. बट ऑन द अदर हैंड, वी हैव इंट्राकास्ट marriage also. You go with that caste because this is what our tradition is. Okay. चाहे पढ़ लिख लिया हो, does not matter, but our tradition is different thing. You know, पढ़ाई लिखाई is अलग thing. Tradition is tradition. So, intracaste means marrying within the same caste. And there you do not have individualism. It is, you are actually following tradition only. So you cannot call it individualism. You cannot call it individualism. It is traditional action. In traditional society, intra-caste marriage would be there. You will marry someone on the basis of his or her caste or religion or ethnicity. In modern society, you will marry someone on the basis of education, on the basis of your own choice, individualism. Now, in India, till last year, 93% of the marriage are intra-caste. Within the same caste, 93% marriage is still happening after 75 years of independence. अभी भी intra-caste marriage होती है 93. Hardly 5 or 6% you will see intercaste. And then the question comes, how do you define intercaste? एक ये भी सवाल आता है, इंटरकास्ट को आप डिफाइन कैसे करते हो? भाई एक आदमी है मिश्रा, one man is Mishra, the other person is Pandey. If these two are marrying each other, is this intercaste or intracaste? ठीक है, generally we think that both are Brahmins traditionally. Okay, so that is intracaste. Endogamy, but that is also intercaste na bhai. Caste is different, varna is different. Okay, I'll come to these things also later on कि इंटरकास्ट मैरिज का जो डेटा आता है हमारे सामने उसमें क्या फ्लॉज होते हैं, what are the assumptions that the researcher is going with. Okay, anyhow, so I hope now you understand ascription versus achievement. Second feature, okay, you will come to know exactly what Talcott Parson is trying to tell us, how our choices actually tell us where we are moving towards, in which direction our society is going to. Okay. Second is affectivity and affective neutrality. Affectivity versus affective neutrality. What does it mean? It simply means that in the modern society, since you know that we have individualism in modern society, okay, individualism means you are no longer emotionally oriented to someone. If you remember, Max Weber also told us the more we get rationalized, the lesser we would now have affectual or traditional social action, more and more we would have Zweig rational, formal rationality. ठीक है, तो टुडे आप ज्यादा इमोशनल नहीं रहते हो किसी के साथ. ओके, टुडे वी फॉर्म रिलेशंस बेस्ड ऑन आवर नीड्स. ओके, बेस्ड ऑन आवर नीड्स, जरूरत के हिसाब से. तो इसमें किसी इंडिविजुअल की गलती नहीं है. It is not the individual who is to be blamed for these things. Sociological imagination. It is the structures of society. Okay. It is the structures of society which are making him like this. It is the demand of modern society that is making him like this. For example, your mother is very emotional when it comes to you as a son or as a daughter. Okay. You also may at times get angry with her or get annoyed with her. Okay. Now, these emotional things that are going on in the family between son or mother or daughter or mother, will the same son or the daughter or the same mother will be doing this kind of behavior when they go out? The same son who is annoyed with her mother, he would not be annoyed with her boss. In the sense, he would not be expressing that annoyance with her boss or his boss like this. Okay, भाई सीधी सी बात है. When I am at office, I cannot be emotional. Okay, if I have any sort of issue, I have to write that issue in a letter and email it. ठीक है. On the other hand, if I am having some issue with my mother, I cannot write an email to her. सीधा बोलूंगा मम्मी क्या कर रहे हो यार ये आप. ठीक है, मम्मी मेरे को थप्पड़ मारेगी, ऐसे बोल रहे हैं. Here boss cannot slap me. He will reply to me with the same email. ठीक है. बड़ा अजीब सा चल रहा है. इशू सेम है लेकिन हमारा बिहेवियर अलग है. In the office, we will be affective neutral. No emotional display. And here we will be completely emotional. Emotionally neutral. Okay. For example, it is family. And here you can give example of work or organization. Okay. The more we get modern, the more and more we get affective neutral. Okay. I was very much annoyed with my boss. I had two choices: to kill him, okay, or to unleash all the anger that I had in me at him, or I write a formal letter. Which choice did I go with? I went with writing a formal letter. Instead of being highly expressive, I chose to write a letter. That means I went with the second choice, affective neutral. Right? The same actor had this goal. Okay, कि इस बॉस को सुनाना है. सुनाने के तरीके बहुत सारे आ गए मेरे सामने, कैसे सुनाऊं? तो I opted for affective neutral. Write a letter. Simple. Okay. Now, third, particularism, universalism. Particularism, universalism. At home, my mother would give me special treatment. Okay, my family will give me special treatment. But in school, I will not get special treatment. In school, all the students are equal for a teacher. We are just roll number 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. We are not Nonu, Sonu or Monu. Okay. Affective neutral, यूनिवर्सल यानी रोल नंबर 1 और 50 सब बराबर मेरे लिए, और वहां घर पे स्पेशल है मदर के लिए। एंड दैट वे मॉडर्न सोसाइटी में क्या होएगा, इट इज अ यूनिवर्सल फीचर टू बी मॉडर्न इन द सेंस you treat everyone equally. This is what democracy is all about, equal opportunity to everyone. ठीक है, पर घर के अंदर डेमोक्रेसी नहीं हो सकती, ठीक है, क्योंकि घर के अंदर कैन नॉट बी इक्वल ट्रीटमेंट। कभी बड़ा भाई को ज्यादा अच्छा ट्रीटमेंट मिलता है, छोटे को नहीं, कभी बहन को मिल जाता है, कभी भाई को नहीं। बट इन दी पब्लिक स्फेयर आउटसाइड होम वी एम टू अचीव यूनिवर्सल standards, and universal standard is all about modern society. This is what the feature of modern society is, pattern variable B, modern society. Okay. So again, as an individual, if you were in a action situation, you had certain goals, okay, and you got confused, which of the means should be followed to achieve this goal? You finally went with universal standard, or you might even have went with particular standard. All depends. Okay. And whatever choices you are going to make will have repercussion on the kind of society that we are going to have. Okay. So in particularism you will write special treatment, and here you will write universal treatment. Okay. Fourth, diffusiveness. Specificity. Specificity. अगेन बात वैसी ही है कुछ। योर रोल in the home is highly diffused in the sense that you are not talking to someone according to your needs. आप घर पे पूरा ऐसे बैठ के सबसे बात करते हो, मम्मी पापा सबसे, इसलिए नहीं क्योंकि कुछ काम आपको इनसे लेना है। और वी डोंट टॉक टू अवर मदर एंड फादर जस्ट बिकॉज वी हैव समथिंग जिसके बारे में हमने बात करनी है इसके बाद। जनरली वी टॉक टू देम, ठीक है। बट इन द ऑफिस यू वुड सी पीपल टॉकिंग बिकॉज दे हैव वर्क, ठीक है। इन ऑफिस ऐसा नहीं कि हम फालतू बैठे हैं, फालतू बैठे वाले ऑफिस में बैठते भी नहीं ज्यादा देर, 1 या 2 दिन, ठीक है। ऑफिस में इफ यू आर टॉकिंग टू ईच अदर दैट शुड बी प्रोडक्टिव डिस्कशन। वी विल हैव कॉन्फ्रेंसेस सेमिनार फॉर द सेम। ओके, घर पे हम कॉन्फ्रेंस या सेमिनार नहीं कर रहे होते, वी कैजुअली टॉक अबाउट एनीथिंग। ओके, सो दैट वे इन एट होम द रिलेशंस आर हाईली डिफ्यूज्ड। रिलेशंस में कोई स्पेसिफिसिटी नहीं है, स्पेसिफिक नीड्स के लिए वी आर नॉट टॉकिंग टू ईच अदर। ओके, relationship highly diffused, और यहां क्या होता है, रिलेशनशिप हाईली स्पेसिफिक। हाईली स्पेसिफिक रिलेशन। ओके, पुलिस वालों से बात कर रहे हो आप, स्पेसिफिक एकदम। यू कांट बी टॉकिंग टू पुलिस वाला द वे यू टॉक टू योर डैड और मदर। डॉक्टर से यू आर टॉकिंग, of course it will be highly specific conversation, specific about specific kind of treatment, medication, something like this. With police, about specific law, specific violation, certain accident. Okay, with doctor, again same thing. So basically at home you do not engage in a specific conversation. It is highly diffuse conversation about anything. Okay, now the more we go towards specificity, the more modern we are becoming. It is a model. It is a model. इसको कैसे यूज करेंगे मैं अभी आपको बताता हूं लास्ट पॉइंट के बाद. The last point is collective orientation versus self orientation. Collective orientation versus self orientation. Again, quite easy. Collective orientation, that means in traditional society, you always take into consideration the collectivity. You think about your family, okay? You think about your nation, you think about your religion, you think about your caste. In modern society, you are highly self oriented. You do not think about these things, you think about yourself. Okay, this is what the modernity is all about. Not to think about family, religion, caste. See, for example, if people were really thinking about family, how would you explain first generation IFS officers, Indian Foreign Service? So they are not so concerned about family, their lineage, generation, their traditional occupations. They simply are self oriented. They just want to go out of India. Okay, and serve India by staying outside India. Okay, so this is self orientation. You have a family business, you do not opt to continue it. Instead of that, you start preparing for UPSC. Self orientation. ठीक है. Otherwise collective orientation, यानी आप उसी occupation में होते, right? So if a Dalit is not engaged in menial tasks anymore and is preparing for UPSC, self orientation, you will see change in occupational structure gradually when you will see lower caste becoming officers, and you will see a change in the structure of hierarchy of the caste, which is a traditional institution according to which lower caste would be doing this task only, higher caste would be doing that task only. When you see self orientation, that means anybody can do anything. So you will see a breakdown in the structure of caste, and this shows modernity is coming. Traditional structures khatam ho rahe hain, right? So that way it is very much right. Self orientation. Okay, now the question is कि क्या करें हम इन सब का. Why did Talcott Parson talk about pattern variables? Let me come back to the same discussion that I was having with you. ये एक आदमी था, ये इसका गोल था. He had many choice. Okay. He rejected few choices. He opted for one after dilemma between this and this. Eliminated many choices, finally ended up with two choices, out of which one he had to take one. Okay. How did he make this choice? If finally he is marrying someone from his caste, that means pattern variable A. Okay, goal is marriage. If you married within caste, that means this can be studied through pattern variable A. If you married across the caste, can be studied through pattern variable B. Okay. If you continued with the same family occupation can be studied through pattern variable A. Okay. And if you manifested self-orientation, chose to become something that is very different from what your family has been doing for generations, then it can be studied through pattern variable B, self-orientation. So whatever choices you make in your life can be studied by these models. Pattern variable A, pattern variable B. Now, if I have 1 crore people, okay, and if I see out of 1 crore, 80 lakh people doing or following something that comes under pattern variable B, then what will I say? Society is moving towards modernity. Okay, and if I see 80% of the people following something that belongs to traditional domain, that I would say that India is still not modern, highly traditional, very few elements of modernity. Something of this sort of conclusion I would come up with. But before doing any sort of research, I would have to have certain models in my head before I start giving any sort of conclusion like this. Clear or not? Okay? So, this was all about pattern variable, topic khatam. Now, the last topic is social system. And before that, we will also write some significance of pattern variable. Okay, so write one heading. Significance of pattern variable. First, pattern variable as a model can help us to understand. Pattern variable as a model can help us to understand social action of individual inclusively or holistically or comprehensively. Comprehensively. Second, second, pattern variable A and pattern variable B are two different modes of orientations. Pattern variable A and B are two different modes of orientation. Two different modes of orientation. Okay. ब्रैकेट में क्या लिखना है? Two different modes of orientation ब्रैकेट में क्या लिखना है? Expressive and instrumental. Okay. These are the two different modes of orientation which are reflected by those 5 pair of pattern. First, pattern variable A is highly expressive. Pattern variable B is instrumental. If you remember Max Weber, Max Weber is the one who talked about instrumental social action. Way means and ends, everything rationally calculate. You do everything all by yourself, individually. You perform all the things. You are conscious being. You think for yourself. Okay, you have all the means at your disposal. You finally choose. You make your own decision. And so when you have so much you, then you have instrumental social action. Okay, so instrumental orientation. And when you do not have so much of you have so much of us. Okay, then it is expressive. ज्यादा इमोशनल हो तुम फैमिली को लेकर. Pattern variable A. Okay, so basically Talcott Parson is saying simply pattern variable A is all about expressive features. Pattern variable B is all about instrumental features. Okay, इसलिए आप अफेक्टिव न्यूट्रल हो, यूनिवर्सल हो, इक्वल स्टैंडर्ड सबके लिए, किसी को स्पेशल ट्रीटमेंट नहीं. ओके, सेल्फ ओरिएंटेशन है. You will see in all the pairs, the right hand side pair is all about you as an individual. But according to Weber, reality is highly complex, so each तो वो तो है ही ना, वो तो है ही, तभी तो ये मॉडल है. This is model only. Sir, was this model of ascription achievement similar to Ralph Linton theory? हाँ बिल्कुल. Not really, not really. See, Ralph Linton is talked about status and contract. Okay, that is bit different. Okay, Ralph Linton का जो concept है mainly status और contract का आता है, इस पे नहीं आएगा. But yes, you can say कि status की जो theory है वो Ralph Linton से ही आती है. Because when I'll teach you Robert Merton, I'll have to teach you status and role as well. What is the difference between role and status? Depicting Tonys. Yes, it is a depiction of Tonys. Ferdinand Tonys, if you remember, pattern variable A and B is all about Gemeinschaft, Gesellschaft. It is coming from Tony's idea. Okay. Tonys is the one, Ferdinand Tonys is the one who has given this typology of simple complex society, Gemeinschaft, Gesellschaft. And Tonys was the one who talked about Gesellschaft having low degree of intimacy. Because as a formal scholar, he studied only degree of intimacy. In Gemeinschaft, we have high degree of intimacy. In Gesellschaft, we have low degree of intimacy. It is community, it is association, it is collectivity, it is individualism. So you will see all those things in Talcott Parsons pattern variable model. And also you will see Weber in his model. Okay. You will also see Durkheim in his model. Because Durkheim has also talked about individualism. Rise of individualism with modernity. Okay, and he was concerned what will bind these people together now. Okay, so he has read everyone, Weber, Parsons, okay, Gemeinschaft का जो scholar है Tonys, Pareto also he has read, okay, जिसके लिए उसने utilitarian theory बताई थी, but उसकी डिटेल में हम नहीं जाएंगे क्योंकि यूपीएससी के लिए हम कर रहे हैं. तो okay, ठीक है, अभी I'll take a break, then we'll continue. Why is he studying modernity only? Why not other? Because he's American. American लोग not just American, a citizen of capitalist democracy. and a citizen of one of the most advanced country in the world. Okay, why should he be studying any other thing when he is living in the world's most developed advanced nation? So 5 minutes break. Now let us try to understand what is Talcott Parson trying to achieve by talking about this nonsense theory of pattern variable. Here is one actor. The goal is make money. Now, three choices I have to make money: startup, government job, private job. The fourth one is gambling. Third option. The question that Talcott Parson is asking to all of you is that why did you not go with gambling? Why did you not go with gambling? What is the answer? Because if I gamble, I can be sent to jail. That means I have a fear of punishment, or my status will be defamed. Okay, badnami hoegi, right? Acha, but how, what are those things which actually made me believe that I should not be doing gambling? Why am I opting for means which are seen as legitimate in society? If you do a government job to make money, that is okay. If you do private job to make money, that is okay. If you do startup to make money, that is okay. If you do gambling, that is not okay. But ये कैसे आया मेरे अंदर? How did I develop this consciousness? It was developed through three modes of control. Three modes of control. First mode of control is sanction. Sanctions means punishment. Okay, that means deviance is not encouraged. Deviance is prohibited by fear of law. Law, if you remember Durkheim, if you have read, law is one institution that maintains solidarity. Law is one institution that prohibits deviance. Okay, so you cannot be a deviant. You would be following the consensus or the consciousness because of the sanctions or of the fear of punishment. In UPSC, you will see in instruction, or in any other exam, you will see instruction: unfair means, anyone using unfair means shall be debarred. Okay, the sanction is given right at the page of instructions. ठीक है, तो ठीक है, फिर मैं कर ही नहीं पाऊंगा चीटिंग. Second is the values that were given to me by school and family. In school and family, these were the kind of values that were given to me, that I have to be ambitious, aspirational. This is not something that is done. Okay, right at the school itself, you start getting punishment. for something that is not seen as right for the discipline of the classroom. So classroom is a mini society. Classroom is a mini society. Okay. All the students in the classroom have different aspirations in their life, different, coming from different families. Okay, still all of them are disciplined, sitting silently, listening to the teacher. Why? Because of the family, the kind of values that families have given to them. Sanction, the fear of monitor, which is standing right at the middle. ठीक है, जो मुर्गा बना देगा. These things are actually making the social order possible. Otherwise, social order cannot be possible if you do not have disciplinary authority or if you do not have values. Right? So that means we have two forces acting, not two, three, one more force I'll talk about. One force is sanctions by law. Second force is value by school and family. Okay, and the third force is the larger social system. Larger social system, that means societal value. Societal values. Okay, the values that you do not really get to know from school or family. For example, the values of democracy. You will only read about democracy in school, but you do not practice democracy. Okay, or you do not internalize democracy in school. After school, you go to college. Okay, and then in college, after college, you go to job. Okay, and then you get to know how democracy actually operates. Okay, because right in the job itself, your appointment, your recruitment, the process of selection is highly democratic. Okay, everybody is chosen on the basis of his skill or opportunity or education. So you see equal opportunity to everyone, irrespective of their sex, gender, whatever that may be. Okay, so these are the three modes of control, and these are those things which maintain social order, and these are those things which made you go for either government job, private job, or startup, and not gambling, because you know this is not right, this is violation of law in a democracy, this is something that my family will never like, my family will get to know, they will hate me. Okay, this is something that I always have a fear of committing, because I remember that right from the school itself I was punished for doing something that was not considered legitimate. Okay, sanctions, we have laws, so that is why you opted for it. Now, the goal is the goal is to enter politics. Okay, what are the means? First means is wealth. Okay, you get ticket of the political party because you are millionaire or billionaire, or because you have been sponsoring political parties. Okay, wealth, पैसा अगर है तो पावर आ जाएगी. Second, contacts. Okay, contacts, you may be having contacts as an IAS officer. Okay, as an IAS officer or IPS, you might have built up so many contacts by then, तो आपको फिर चांस मिल जाता है, जैसे छत्तीसगढ़ में मिला ओपी चौधरी को. ओके, ओके. Third way to enter politics, Could be by marrying the daughter of president or daughter of chief minister or son of chief minister or PM or whatever that may be. This could also be one method to enter politics. Okay. Fourth method could be criminal behavior. What we call as criminalization of politics. When you are a criminal and very popular, बड़े ऊंचे स्टेटस के क्रिमिनल हो, ठीक है, भैया लगता है तुम्हारे नाम के आगे, सब लोग भैया नाम से जानते हैं गाँव में, पॉलिटिक्स में तुम्हें आराम से वोट मिलेंगे, ठीक है, बिकॉज पॉलिटिक्स इज ऑल अबाउट मेजोरिटी. Okay, not about moral or immoral majority, but only majority. ठीक है, criminal behavior. Now, the fact is, you, in order to enter politics, may not get into crime because of, again, sanctions, values, and larger social system that is democracy. You now know very well that Supreme Court and other election commission, all these bodies now are a watchdog, so they will always keep a watch on the background of the person who are competing for the seats. Okay, and they may not even allow you to fight the election, to contest the election. Okay. Marrying the son or daughter of chief minister can be a probable choice. Contacts, maybe. Wealth, maybe. Finally, I opted for marrying son or daughter of chief minister, whatever that may be. Okay. Now, again, this choice that I made was highly influenced by situational and normative constraints. Normative constraints. Okay. As a bureaucrat, I cannot afford to offend the minister. Okay. This is a norm. Okay. In my personal life, I may do. Okay. But I chose not to do so. Rather, I chose to follow whatever he is saying, and some other people who are advising me and telling me कि भाई इनकी बेटी से या इनके बेटे से शादी करोगे तो तुम्हारा करियर बनेगा आगे जाके बहुत बड़ा, ठीक है, पॉलिटिक्स में आसानी हो जाएगी. Okay, so there are certain norms which are driving my action because my goal is to enter politics. Larger goal तो वही है. Okay, so contacts अपने आप काम आ गए, तभी यहां तक पहुंचा मैं. Wealth वो भी काम आ गई, ठीक है. So ultimately this action of me marrying the son or daughter of chief minister to enter into politics was very much calculated. Very much calculated. That means the larger thing that I want to tell you is that in the theory of structure of social action, Calcut Parson is always and always talking about formal rationality. Formal rationality. That means you have multiple means before you. If you remember Max Weber's formal rationality, you have multiple means before you, but you opt for certain means by eliminating other means. You consider this as right and this one as wrong. Okay. This shows formal rationality, and whenever Talcott Parson is talking about social action, he is considering only and only formal rationality. Why? Because first assumption was that man is utilitarian. As a utilitarian man, he is rational, he has choice, he will make choices accordingly. Okay. इसका मतलब बाकी forms of rationality and the other forms of social action he is not talking about. इसको ध्यान रखना है. Okay. And even if people opt for the things which are deemed as expressive or fall under pattern variable A, he is not giving importance to that, because to him to be modern means pattern variable B, and pattern variable A is traditional, non-modern, something like this. Okay, so he is looking down at pattern variable A and giving all the importance to pattern variable B. So the next feature that you are going to write in significance of pattern variable B, write down. Pattern variable helps in understanding the larger social system. The larger social system. The larger social system. For example, if the social action of individuals, if the social action of individuals fall under pattern variable A, the social system is traditional. If the larger social action of individuals fall under pattern variable A, the social system is traditional. And if pattern variable B, then modern. Okay, so this is his way of classifying societies. बेसिकली ये सब उसने मेहनत जो करी, आखिर में उसका गोल क्या था? टू क्लासिफाई सोसाइटीज. ओके, नाउ अब मैं आपको एक क्विक रिवीजन करवाता हूँ ताकि कोई भी कंफ्यूजन रही हो, क्योंकि टैलकट पार्सन में थोड़ा लोगों को प्रॉब्लम हो जाती है ओनली बिकॉज ऑफ द टर्म्स दैट ही यूजेस. ओके, अब मैं आपको सिंप्लीफाई करके बता देता हूँ बेसिकली हुआ क्या, घटना क्या घटी है. डरखाइम, मार्क्स, वेबर, Parsons. How does Durkheim classify society? On the basis of what? Basis of classification. Basis of classification. Division of labor. Division of labor and collective consciousness. Okay. And law also. ये सब था, ठीक है. Marx, how did he classify society? Modes of production, according to modes of production and classes. How did Weber classify society? According to rationality. Rationality. Okay, which includes basically everything: authority, forms of capitalism. Basically, his way to classify things was based on the way we think. Today, you opt for a college Okay, because you consider that college has brand. You do not opt for a subject that you like. You opt for a college that is considered brand. उसमें कोई गंदा सा सब्जेक्ट ले लेंगे, ठीक है, क्योंकि सब्जेक्ट से क्या फर्क पड़ता है, कॉलेज मैटर करता है, ठीक है। जैसे मेरे साथ हुआ, मेटलर्जी ले लिया मैंने। मेटलर्जी, मेटलर्जी क्या होता है पता ही नहीं है। इंटरेस्ट आई हैड इन ऑर्गेनिक केमिस्ट्री, बट आई चोज आईआईटी बिकॉज इट इज आईआईटी भाई। मेटलर्जी, अरे वो मैं बताता ही नहीं किसी को मेटलर्जी किया मैंने, ठीक है, आईआईटी बस। तो basically the way you think, you are not thinking about your preferences, all those things. You are not really, following your pursuit, the passion that you had for something. Everything is over. We are in a disenchanted world. Disenchanted world. Okay. Disenchanted world. Highly rational. And this is what irrationality of rationality is. Okay. So the changes in the way of thinking from traditional social action to formal social action, to Zweig rational social action. This is the way we have started thinking now. At one point of time, you used to think, 18 के हो गए हैं, 21 के हो गए हैं, शादी कर लेते हैं. Okay, you are not doing this now. अब चाहे उम्र जितनी होती जाए, what matters is career. पहले ये, उसके बाद फिर देखेंगे. पहले क्या होता था, पहले वो, उसके बाद करियर बनाएंगे. This is what the orientations have changed largely. Okay. Now, today, before getting married to someone, okay, you would not be thinking about all those extravagant expenses, all those things. पंडाल बड़ा बड़ा लाखों का खर्चा, तुम बोलोगे यार instead of spending so much, why not we simply invest it? This is what we have become. यार इतना खर्चा हम शादी में करें, इससे अच्छा हम कहीं इन्वेस्ट कर देते हैं उसको भी इन्वेस्ट करेंगे अब हम, ठीक है। तो this is what our thinking is gradually becoming like. This is what the rationalization process is all about. Traditions, values जो हम इतना बड़ा वो लाइट वाइट लगाते थे, हमारे पापा ने तुम्हें पता है इतना किया था, तुम कह रहे हो ये सब का खर्चा का कोई मतलब नहीं है, इतने गेस्ट बुलाओ, 1000 लोगों को, जान पहचान है नहीं, जबरदस्ती आप बुलाई जा रहे हो सबको। ओके, सीधा सीधा इन्वेस्ट कर दो यार इसको, कहाँ पे यार, प्रॉपर्टी ले लो इसकी। ओके, Zweig rational social action, formal rationality. Parsons, how did he classify society? He is classifying society according to pattern variable. Which means, again, modes of orientation. If the orientation is falling under pattern variable A, society is traditional. If orientation falling under pattern variable B, society is modern. This was his main idea, classification of society. Okay. What is modern society according to Weber? Society having Zweig rational social action, legal rational authority, formal rationality. That is what modern society is. What is traditional society according to Weber? A society having traditional social action, traditional authority, and practical rationality. That is tradition. Okay. What is traditional society to Marx? A society having limited technological advancement, limited needs, having community with no class structure. That is traditional society. What is modern society? A society having highest form of technological development, higher rate of changes in the means of production because of technological advancement, and then relations of production, resulting into formation of classes which are aligned in asymmetrical relation with each other, and a class that is being oppressed by another class. This is what modern society is all about. No more community, No more limited needs. Okay, false needs, oppression, exploitation. This is what modern society. Okay, so this is over. Now, next topic, last topic on social system by Parsons. Very simple topic. I'm giving you just 5 minutes of what do you call it as overview on social system. What is social system? Then I'll teach you this topic tomorrow. Okay, just 5 minutes. जो हमारी ह्यूमन बॉडी है, our human body has different needs. Okay, we want to eat, we want to drink, we want to fall in love. Okay, we want to meet someone, we want to greet someone. Okay, we want to sleep as well, take rest. Different needs we have. Just like human body has different needs, our society, if you consider society as an organism, this is what the functionalists have been talking about. Society is very much analogous to organism, biology, a human body. Okay, so society also has different needs, just like human body. Okay, society also has different needs, just like human body. This was human body, this is society. Human body has different needs. Society also has different needs. Suppose you go to शिमला. Okay, प्लान बना लिया है शिमला जाने का. The moment you land in Shimla, first you take rest. यार अभी इतने ऊपर ऑल्टीट्यूड में आए हैं, थोड़ा ब्रेथलेसनेस हो रही है, ना फीलिंग ब्रेथलेस. ठीक है, थोड़ा पहले रेस्ट करते हैं. तो रेस्ट कर लिया, अच्छे से होटल में जाएंगे. यार देख इतना दूर से आए, होटल ढंग का होना चाहिए. अच्छे से होटल में भी चल, 2 नीड्स पूरी हो गई, रेस्ट भी हो गया, अच्छा होटल भी हो गया. ठीक है यार, खाना यार अच्छा सा मिल जाए बस, फिर कल चलते हैं घूमने. तीसरी नीड भी पूरी होगी, खाना भी खा लिया, बढ़िया. फोर्थ, यार जाएंगे कैसे यार, कुछ टैक्सी वैक्सी मंगाओ ना यार. टैक्सी भी आ गई. ठीक है, टैक्सी वाला इज्जत भी दे रहा है, 5वीं नीड पूरी हो गई, अच्छा लग रहा है एज ए टूरिस्ट. ठीक है, टैक्सी वाला रोक भी रहा है, जहाँ जहाँ बोल रहे हो यहाँ रुक जाओ, वो भी नीड पूरी होगी. आप ईटिंग भी कर रहे हो, शॉपिंग कॉम्प्लेक्स जो भी है जहाँ भी जा रहे हो, फोटो भी खिंचवा रहे हो, सारी नीड्स पूरी होगी. सारी नीड्स पूरी करके फाइनली घर आ गए. All throughout the day we completed all our needs that we had. Now assume society having its own needs. What are the needs of society? The needs of society are 4, only 4. First need of society is adaptation. Second need of society is goal attainment. Fourth need of society is integration. See, what makes Talcott Parson difficult is only one thing, the words that he is using. Otherwise, he is very simple scholar. है बहुत सिंपल आदमी, की इंटेंशन समझने की कोशिश करो, वर्ड्स में मत जाओ उसके. Adaptation, goal attainment, integration, and the fourth need is latency. Okay, these are the 4 needs of society. What is the meaning of these needs? तुमने अडेप्ट किया था कि नहीं? When you went to Shimla, you adapted. You took rest for one day, adapted to the external environment, right? And then you decided to have some nice chicken, dal makhani, something like this. Okay, goal was to have dinner, something like this. Okay, or to go on for some long walk. Okay, घूमने के लिए. After adapting, you decided to fulfill your goals, whatever that goal may be. Okay, integration. When you go out, you meet people. Okay, शिमला में आप गए, लोगों से मिले. ठीक है, वहाँ का जो नॉर्मल से नॉर्मल खाना है उसको भी आराम से खा रहे हो, दोस्तों से बात कर रहे हो, जो बाहर वहाँ शिमला वाले के उनसे भी बात कर रहे हो, उनसे फोटो खिंचवा रहे हो, ठीक है। इंटीग्रेटिंग ऑल्सो इज वन नीड। टैक्सी वाले के साथ आप बैठे उससे बातें करी ढेर सारी, यू इंटीग्रेटेड विद हिम, तभी तो वो भी आपकी सुनेगा और आपको जहां आप चाहते हो रुकेगा वहां रुकवा देगा, ठीक है। यू इंटीग्रेटेड विद द staff of the hotel where you are staying. Integration was something that was already there. Okay, unless you integrate with people, people would not cooperate with you. Last, latency. Okay, latency. What is the meaning of latency? Latency simply means that in the whole process of having discussion, integration with the people, fulfilling your goals, going out, टेंशन भी बिल्डअप हो गई। घर आए, यार 2 करोड़ खर्च हो गए आज मेरे, पता ही नहीं चला यार 2 करोड़ कब निकल, अभी मैंने बैलेंस चेक किया 2 रुपए हैं, ठीक है। क्या करूं यार, मैं पेरेंट्स को क्या बोलूं? तो दोस्त बोलेगा अरे तू टेंशन मत ले यार, मैं हूं ना, मैं तेरे को 4 रुपए दूंगा अपनी तरफ, ठीक है। मेरे बाकी जितने दोस्त हैं सबको बोल बोल के किसी तरह तेरा 100 रुपए करवा दूंगा बैलेंस, फिर देख लियो तेरे को आगे जो करना है। टेंशन तुम्हारी खत्म कर रहे हैं। दिस इज व्हाट लेटेंसी इज। हमारी सोसाइटी में भी एक इंस्टीट्यूशन है जो टेंशन खत्म करता है सबकी। एक इंस्टीट्यूशन है जो अडेप्ट करता है, उस इंस्टीट्यूशन का नाम क्या है ये सब मैं कल बताऊंगा आपको, अभी मैं सिर्फ आपको एक ओवरव्यू दे रहा हूँ। एक इंस्टीट्यूशन, देयर इज वन इंस्टीट्यूशन इन अवर सोसाइटी which adapts to the external environment. For example, when liberalization, privatization, globalization happened in 1990s, Indian society had to adapt to these external changes. These were like Shimla. शिमला एकदम आ गए हो फर्स्ट टाइम, उसी तरह फर्स्ट टाइम एलपीजी हो रहा है, सोसाइटी कैसे अडेप्ट करेगी एलपीजी के साथ? अडेप्टेशन वही वहां इंपॉर्टेंट है, ठीक है। गोल अटेनमेंट, एलपीजी के बाद गोल भी बदले सोसाइटी के हमारे, ठीक है। कैसे बदले, क्या बदले, वो सब मैं कल बताऊंगा। इंटीग्रेशन, ऑर्गन्स में भी चेंजेस आए हमारी सोसाइटी के, ओके। लॉज में चेंजेस आए, इकोनॉमी में चेंजेस आए। द वे लॉ, इकोनॉमी, स्टेट वर इंटीग्रेटेड विद ईच अदर एज ऑर्गन्स, the integration that we had in these seemingly different organs like family, law, state, economy, इन सब में भी चेंजेस आए आफ्टर एलपीजी, ओके। स्कूल, फैमिली, लॉ, स्टेट, everything got changed, and but still they were in integration with each other, in the sense after 1990s, just imagine like this, how school changed, the curriculum got changed, ncrt textbook changed, 1990s के ऊपर चैप्टर आना शुरू हो गया, ओके। लिबरलाइजेशन एक चैप्टर बन गया, प्राइवेटाइजेशन अलग, ठीक है। कैपिटलिज्म के ऊपर चैप्टर आया, लिबरलिज्म, ये सब इन सब चीजों के ऊपर चैप्टर्स आने, एजुकेशन स्ट्रक्चर में चेंज आया, फैमिली एज एन इंस्टीट्यूशन उसमें चेंज आया। पहले जॉइंट फैमिली थी, अब एस्पिरेशन बन गए हैं, प्राइवेटाइजेशन आ गया है, अब जा रहे हैं दिल्ली में, मुंबई में, तो फैमिली जॉइंट से न्यूक्लियर होती गई, ठीक है। लॉज में चेंज आए, स्टेट में चेंज आए, हर एक चीज में चेंज आए। तो लेटेंसी, इतने चेंजेस के बाद टेंशन भी बिल्डअप होती है सोसाइटी में। स्ट्रेन्स डेवलप इन सिस्टम जस्ट लाइक स्ट्रेन्स डेवलप इन बॉडी और मेंटल सिस्टम, ओके। एंड देयरफॉर वी आल्सो हैव tension management mechanism, and now these are the things which I'll explain you tomorrow. But remember, we unless we have four institutions unless we have 4 institutions catering to 4 different needs of society, we will never be able to maintain the social order. For the social order to maintain itself, the 4 different needs have to be fulfilled by 4 different institutions of society. Just think like this, that's it, okay। बाकी अब मैं कल बताता हूँ what are those institutions serving these needs of society, fulfilling the needs of society. Now you can ask me questions. Sir, what is the difference between situational normative constraints and modes of control? The modes of control includes these constraints. These are sanctions only. देखो, ये हो गया तुम्हारा नॉर्मेटिव कंस्ट्रेंट. छोटा सा एग्जांपल दे देता हूं मैं. You want to marry someone. You are not able to marry him or her because he or she belongs not to your caste. Okay, शादी नहीं हो पाएगी भाई, अलग रिलीजन के, अलग कास्ट की. नॉर्मेटिव कंस्ट्रेंट आ गया. ठीक है, क्या पता नॉर्मेटिव कंस्ट्रेंट ना हो. He is from your caste, she is from your religion, but she is poor. Okay, डाउरी नहीं दे पाएगी. आई एम नॉट एनकरेजिंग डाउरी, मैं बता रहा हूँ प्रैक्टिकल लाइफ में क्या हो रहा होता है. ठीक है, ऑफ कोर्स डाउरी इज बैड इंस्टीट्यूशन, इट हैज बीन प्रोहिबिटेड. ठीक है, बट मैं बता रहा हूँ कि situational constraint in the sense, suppose you do not have money to arrange the marriage, or you are not ably situated in society to take care of the next generation, your children. You are not good enough, economically well enough to have your own family. Situational constraint, इसमें norms की बात नहीं है. Situation, यार अभी मेरे पास क्या कहते हैं, अभी यार मैं कहीं नहीं हूँ, स्टेबल ही नहीं हूँ, मैं कहीं पैसे ही नहीं है, उधार मांग मांग के मैं खाना खाता हूँ, तुम्हारा कैसे ख्याल रखूंगा. Situational constraint. So that way, situational constraint is not about norms. Situational constraint is about your income, geography, and capability. Your wife is an IAS officer. You are also IAS officer. You are in Rajasthan. She is in UP. मिल ही नहीं पा रहे. उसकी ट्रांसफर यहाँ नहीं हो पा रही. तुम्हारे अंदर ईगो बहुत ज्यादा है कि तुम नहीं जाओगे उधर, वही आएगी. ठीक है, अल्टीमेटली डिवोर्स हो गया. ठीक है, बट कभी कभी नहीं भी होता. बट ज्योग्राफी थी कि नहीं कंस्ट्रेंट? वो उधर थी, तुम यहाँ थे, कंस्ट्रेंट था ये. इसमें नॉर्म्स की बात है. इट इज नॉट अबाउट नॉर्म्स, इट इज अबाउट ज्योग्राफिकल लोकेशन, योर इनकम, योर कैपेबिलिटी. नेक्स्ट क्वेश्चन. Newton 84. A person was influenced by idealism school of thought taught in the class. Is this idealism same like? Yes, idealism has multiple variants. Idealism simply means ideas are primary, matter is secondary. Remember this. See, Talcott Parson is influenced by three schools. Utilitarianism, that means he believes individuals have choice, individuals are rational. But then he is also talking about idealism, that means the norms will constrain individuals. Ideas are primary. The means that you will choose to fulfill your goals will also be influenced by the ideas. The goal that you make in your life is also influenced by ideas. Okay, so actor may be rational in the sense he can make all the choice all by himself, but the means that he would have before him would be governed by the norms. The goal that he would make for himself would also be governed by norms. So both are there. Individual actor making his choice is there, norms constraining him, his action is also there. And third is positivism. अब positivism कहां से आया वो मैं सोशल सिस्टम में बताऊंगा. पार्सन वाज इन्फ्लुएंस, ये तो हो गया. एनी अदर क्वेश्चन? ठीक है, चलो, सी यू टुमारो देन.